A-E-1 source.
My name's Carter James. I'm an independent artist, and I was here in New York looking for a job, wasn't getting hired. I need to tackle the social media thing, and so that was May 1st, 2024. I started posting every day, and I had, I think, 17K on Instagram, and so we're almost at a year now. I haven't skipped one day, and we're at 71K, so it's been like a crazy ride, but I feel like in some ways like social media is my stage or has been my stage. And you're listening to At Sometime Somewhere for AT1 Radio. I'm from Boston before New York, and before that I grew up in Michigan technically. I had the experience of like hearing a lot about it, but I come from like the era of like the worst top 40. Like I listened to like pop music, and I listened to like back then it was like Kiss 108 and like Radio Disney and stuff like that. Okay. And so my parents were definitely like in the Motown and everything, and I would always hear about it, but they never like really pushed it on me. And so as I started to grow up a bit, I started to have a deeper understanding for like music history. I have plenty of memories calling into Radio Disney for their Friday night talent show. So I, fun fact, won a Radio Disney sweepstakes when I was 12. And so like those sweepstakes that happen, they're real. People win them. So it was for the first Avengers movie, and I won a singing competition, like the talent show on Friday nights. And then I got home from school one day, and they got a call on my mom's phone, because I didn't have a phone yet, and told me that I had won tickets to go see the premiere for the first Avengers movie in LA. And so I flew out there with some friends, didn't know what Marvel was, and saw the premiere for the Avengers movie. Absolutely, yeah. I growing up I attended School of Rock. I don't know how familiar you are. Yes, yeah. So I was in a Michigan branch of School of Rock and was doing shows a couple times a year. And anytime there was like a talent show at school or a theater performance or something like that, I was always the first to sign up for it. I've been writing and producing music since I was 10. I started using Logic when it was Logic Pro 9. So I actually, when I was in fourth or fifth grade, it was when I was 10, I got a serious concussion. And it was so bad that for a couple days I was struggling with short-term memory loss. So it was like I didn't know where I was, what was going on. I'd ask, someone would tell me, and then 5 seconds later I'd ask the same thing again. And so it was like this scary thing, didn't know how it was going to affect my long-term memory. And so in that period of time when I couldn't do sports, like I was a soccer player, I couldn't do like any other of my extracurriculars, I just discovered GarageBand initially on my mom's laptop, and then started doing that with all of my free time. Eventually graduated to Logic, and happy to still be doing it. Once I started producing music, as I said, it kind of just became like my everyday thing. Anytime I had free time, I was making music and getting clowned for it by my friends and people at school. And around this time, also because it was after the concussion, I did start to develop a lot of anxiety. So like as a child, even though I was a big performer, tried to do every talent show and everything, this was around the time that I kind of started to like retreat a little bit in terms of how like outgoing I was and extroverted I was. And so kind of side by side, hand in hand, as I was getting deeper into producing and writing music, I was kind of just like keeping to myself. And so that kind of started, I guess, like this arc for me of really like being a studio rat and not performing as much, not as like getting out as much, but really just kind of developing my craft, trying to work on my sound and get it out there in some way that way. I moved to Boston from Michigan when I was 11, so not long after my concussion. And at first I was just kind of working wherever I was, like family room, living room, headphones. Because I mean, when I first started, I didn't even have my own laptop, so I was using my mom's and just trying to do it whenever I could, wherever I could. I think when I was 14 or 15, I finally got my own computer and my own laptop, and that was when I started trying to build somewhat of like a home studio in my parents' house. I remember like the first initial one was in my parents' basement, as many are, and it was like, I think it was supposed to be like this like cellar part of the basement, and so it was the worst acoustics you'd ever hear in your life. Like, yeah, yeah, like unfinished, echoey, terrible. But I had some privacy, so I think that's probably the time when I started like really moving and shifting from just like beat making to composing full-on songs that I was recording the vocal part for, and trying to develop that sound. Honestly, it was probably just like that, like very like auto-tuney polished like pop sound that I was going for. Yeah, exactly. I think that there wasn't much structure early on. There wasn't much like polish early on in terms of my skill level. And around this time, I also started to learn how to play piano, because as I was songwriting, I wanted to be able to accompany myself if needed, and also like as a producer using like the key, what is it, like key tracking on the laptop keyboard to play. Like I wasn't playing chords on my laptop keyboard, so learn the basics, just like enough to accompany myself, not at all like a classical pianist, but that was when that structure started to happen, and I felt like I was actually making songs over beats. I feel like when you're graduating college, or at least when I was graduating from music school, I was always told that I have like three options. I can move to New York, LA, or Nashville. And I don't know how true that is in terms of those being like the end all be all, at least in the US, but I know that those are primarily where there's work. And so as I was leaving school, I was weighing my options, and I was thinking, okay, do I want to stay in Boston? Do I want to go to LA? Do I want to go to New York? I've never been to Nashville, and so that wasn't something I seriously considered at that time. I went there they had a program called the Experimental Pop Music Program. It was a really cool program in theory, although when I got there, I noticed an emphasis placed on a lot of the visual arts programs. Amazing, talented people there, a lot of great friends still there, but they just didn't really have the curriculum for what I wanted to do. And so I had gotten into Berklee as well, and I decided probably around like November or December of like my first semester that I needed to transfer back home. I think part of me wanting to go out to LA also was like to get out of Boston, get away from my family. And then, but 3 months later, I was homesick, missing my mom, missing my dog. And so made the switch, and I was lucky to have other friends that had already been going to Berklee that first semester too, so it wasn't too like isolating, or I wasn't too nerve-wracked like coming in, transferring. And so when that happened, I knew that after graduating college, I probably wouldn't want to go back to LA. I would probably want to go to New York. Boston being a walkable city, New York being a walkable city, the easy pick. Also not being too far from Boston, only a couple hours. So I mean, I have only been here a little over a year, like a year and a half, but I'm loving it. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. In my music journey, I was really I was making, like I said, like a lot of beats, and it kind of stemmed from this beat making place. And so it was very inspired by a lot of the EDM artists I listened to, a lot of like the pop electronica, like the Owl Cities. It's huge inspo for me. And so as I was graduating college, I put out an EP right after I graduated college that was part of my it was a capstone project. Yeah, my thesis to graduate. And so like I think I've been on this journey the last few years of trying to take my like pop electronica into a little more of a tangible space. And as I'm starting to think about performing live more, and as I'm starting to think about just this next chapter, I want to make sure that I can have like a good live arrangement and a good set that doesn't sound too different from my recorded versions, but is like the translated version. And so I've been kind of living in this space of like the mix between like pop electronica and then like some acoustic guitars and like like an actual physical drum kit instead of an electronic kit, and trying to find the meeting point between those. Funny enough, they're actually like primarily Berklee people that I had known. Yes, yeah. So one person, Lisa, Lisa Chiodo, she just had a release party here for her EP, and she's an incredible talent. She and I have collaborated a couple times. She's recorded some trumpet for some of my songs, and I'm hoping to collaborate with her in the future again. I collaborate a lot with an artist named Nectarine Girl. Her name's Leah, and she went to Berklee as well. She's like an indie alternative rock artist, and so she's someone that actually, like in this instance, for example, has done a lot to help me with that blending of like my love for electronica and then like tangible instruments. Because, like I said, I'm not a classical pianist. I can play a little bit of ukulele, a little bit of guitar, but I'm not like an instrumentalist at the end of the day. And so for me, I love to figure out ways to utilize those instruments that I don't typically know how to play, and work them into the recording. It feels weird. It's still something I feel like I'm getting used to. Like still like now, it's easier with someone like Lisa or Leah or someone that I'm collaborating with more often now, but I still find myself having to kind of give myself that talk of like convincing myself that like why I need to be collaborating and why I need to be not isolating. It's such a habit at this point, and it's such a I have so many conversations with my friend Leah about like the idea of having complete control over your creative vision. And I think a lot of the work I've done the last few years is kind of just like letting go of that control, letting go of that possessiveness. Like I used to have like really weird ideas about even having other instrumentalists on my track because I felt like it then wasn't like entirely my vision. And so just like reminding myself like how collaborative and community oriented music has always been. And also like acting on those experiences and realizing that it only makes my music better I'm still kind of learning those lessons and trying to convince myself to continue going in that direction. I'll start by saying that I did start playing shows like throughout high school. When I was in high school, I started playing a couple just like local shows, playing some bills with some friends, opening up for local artists. And that was kind of, I think, like my first attempt at like branching out of the shell and getting into the music community more. And then as I went to college and kind of bunkered down in my studies, I kind of like revisited that isolationist feeling. And so at the beginning of last year, 2024, I decided that I was going to start performing live again. And I was like, I need to get out there, even if it's just one show. I need to like rip the Band-Aid off. Because I think at that point, it had been so long. It had been 7 years since my last live show. Yeah, it was just like I couldn't even bring myself to even know how to approach that. And so it actually worked out. I was reached out to by a group called the Ally Coalition, which is an organization that helps connect queer musicians with music resources and recording resources and things like that. And they reached out to me and invited me to play this bill alongside my friend Leah, who that was just a coincidence. Neither of us knew the other person was going to be playing. And so that was also really helpful and comforting to have someone that I like trust, a creative collaborator there, essentially like opening for me or me opening for her. I don't remember the order, but it was nice to have a familiar face in the crowd. Funny enough, I actually feel like my like social media journey is very connected to that like isolationist arc. Because like when I started kind of retreating, being more of a studio rat in like later middle school, high school, I started doing social media. And so I've been at it for a while, and kind of in like different chapters, but like back in the day when Vine was a thing, I was a Viner. After that, I became like a daily live streamer on a platform called YouNow, which no longer is a thing. Wow. And so I've like every social media site that's existed, I've tried to take a shot at it. And I think there's some element of it being a way to reach people, but me being able to do it all alone in my room or in my studio that I've always found appealing. I've never been anxious about attention on the internet in the same way that I am about a crowd in person. And so I've been on social media here and there for a while now, but it was once I moved to New York in 2023, I moved to New York, but 2024 was when I started posting every single day online. And I was here in New York looking for a job, wasn't getting hired. And so I just kind of told myself, you know what, I need to tackle the social media thing. I need to create a space for myself and have like essentially a little online portfolio that I'm really dedicated to and keep up with. And so that was May 1st, 2024. I started posting every day, and I had, I think, 17K on Instagram. And so we're almost at a year now. I haven't skipped one day, and we're at 71K. So it's been like a crazy ride, but I feel like in some ways like social media is my stage or has been my stage. I'm trying. I think that it's one of those things that it's like a slow but steady build, and sometimes I don't I can't feel it at first. Like when you have a video go viral, it's usually like half hate comments anyways, and so you have to kind of sift through to see what of that is going to be like, I guess, a convertible listener or a convertible supporter of your content. Yeah, you can find me at Carter James on Instagram or Carter James Music on TikTok.
AE1 short.
At Sometimes Somewhere is produced by Audio-Technica for AT1 Radio. It is recorded at AT1 Studio at Technica House, New York. Follow AT1 Radio and Audio-Technica USA on all social media platforms. Thanks for listening.